imagine you're walking down the hallway of your office building. Maybe you're just stepping out to grab a coffee, or you're heading down to the lobby at the end of the day.
Right, just a totally normal routine.
Exactly. And you lean your shoulder against this completely normal, unremarkable partition wall just to, check your phone. But instead of hitting solid drywall, your shoulder just keeps going.
Oh, wow.
You lose your balance and fall backward.
Yeah.
But you don't stumble into the next cubicle. You drop completely out of physical space. You just fall out of reality itself.
And then you land on this damp, beige carpet. The air smells totally stale, like old moisture.
Yeah.
And stretching out in front of you, as far as the eye can see, is this endless maze of empty rooms. They're covered in this sickly yellow wallpaper, illuminated by buzzing fluorescent lights.
And there are no windows, right?
No windows, no doors leading outside at all. You were completely alone, but you have this creeping, inescapable feeling that something nearby has just heard you arrive.
Well, welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring the concept of the built environment and, what happens to the human psyche when the spaces we construct just lose their purpose.
It's such a wild topic.
It really is. And the timing for you to join us today is actually incredibly serendipitous, because today is Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. And exactly 7 years ago today, May 12th, 2019, an anonymous post on a paranormal message board essentially gave birth to a modern mythology.
Yeah, our source material today is this remarkably comprehensive Wikipedia article that chronicles a digital phenomenon known as the Backrooms.
The Backrooms.
Right. And our mission here is to trace the evolution of this whole concept for you. We're looking at how a single, deeply unsettling internet photograph mutated from a niche forum post into this massive, collaborative horror universe.
And now it's actually becoming a major Hollywood film, right?
Exactly. And an A24 film that hits theaters in just a few weeks, which is crazy.
We should probably establish early on that this goes way beyond just a simple internet ghost story. We're diving into modern collective myth-making, the psychology of architecture, and what makes the human mind just viscerally uncomfortable.
Yeah, the psychology of it is huge.
So let's jump back to that initial spark on May 12th, 2019. We're on 4chan, specifically the paranormal board, which is known as X. And an anonymous user starts a thread with a pretty straightforward request.
They basically just ask people to post disquieting images that just feel off.
Right, which is a great prompt.
It really is. And out of all the weird cursed images people uploaded, one photograph just brought everything to a halt. It's an image of an empty indoor space.
Just a room.
Yeah, just a room, but no furniture, no windows, no distinct architectural markers at all. It just shows a room partitioned by fake inner walls, covered in this muted, repeating chevron-patterned wallpaper.
And the carpet.
Right. The floor is that uniform beige industrial carpet, the kind you see in really cheap motels.
Yeah.
And the drop ceiling has those highly visible rectangular fluorescent light fixtures.
See, for me, the composition of the photo is what really does the heavy lifting there. The photographer used a Dutch angle.
Oh, yeah, the tilt.
Right. For anyone unfamiliar with camera techniques, a Dutch angle is when you tilt the camera on its roll axis so the horizon lines aren't parallel with the bottom of the frame.
It completely throws off your equilibrium.
Subconsciously, yeah. You look at it and your brain immediately registers that gravity or reality in this space is just slightly skewed.
But the photo was just the beginning, right? Because the next day, May 13th, 2019, another anonymous user replied to that skewed image, and they provided the text that would essentially become the foundational lore.
The text is so good.
It is. They wrote that if you aren't careful, you can no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas and end up in the backrooms.
Okay, let's unpack this core mechanic of no clipping, because if you play video games, that term immediately triggers a very specific kind of anxiety.
Oh, absolutely.
In game development, no clipping is a command, or sometimes a glitch, where the physics engine just stops applying solid boundaries to your character. So you suddenly phase through a solid wall.
Or fall right through the floor of the map.
Yes, you land in this endless, unrendered gray void underneath the game world. It's a space that developers never ever intended for the player to see.
It feels wrong to even look at it.
Exactly. So applying that glitch to our physical reality is a staggering concept. It suggests that our universe is just like a simulation or a map with buggy boundaries. If you accidentally bump into the wrong corner in a waiting room, You just slip through the geometry of the universe into an endless holding pen.
What's fascinating here is how this concept taps perfectly into an aesthetic known as liminal spaces.
Liminal spaces.
Yeah, liminality refers to the threshold between two destinations. So liminal spaces are transitional areas, hallways, waiting rooms, stairwells, parking garages.
Places you move through, not where you hang out.
Right, they are designed for movement, not existence. So when you look at an image of a liminal space that is unnaturally empty, it creates this profound dissonance in your brain. It gives you an eerie sense of familiarity, a feeling of, I've been here before, even though it lacks any identifying features.
And the hashtag for liminal spaces has like hundreds of millions of views online, so this feeling is clearly a universal nerve just waiting to be struck.
Yeah.
The specific details of that Backrooms image amplify that dread flawlessly.
Definitely. The sources actually highlight an analysis noting how the Backrooms leverages a long tradition of the liminal in horror. I mean, consider the dominant color of the image. The wallpaper isn't a cheerful, sunny yellow.
No, it's gross.
It's explicitly described as a fungal, sickly yellow. In architectural psychology, that specific shade symbolizes deterioration, caution, and existential distress.
It mimics the aesthetic of, like, neglected corporate spaces from the 1990s.
Exactly. It's an environment where both your physical body and your mind can just get completely lost because there are no landmarks. Every corner looks exactly like the last.
It functions as an uncanny valley of architecture. Like, it looks like a room, but it lacks the fundamental purpose of a room.
Right.
But, the initial post was just this single, isolated concept, an endless empty space. But the internet rarely leaves a compelling concept alone, do they? The community began to build on it immediately.
Oh, the expansion happened so fast. The concept mutated into a creepypasta. And for those who might not know, a creepypasta is essentially an internet horror story that gets copy and pasted across different forums and platforms.
It's like the digital equivalent of an urban legend passed around a campfire.
Exactly. So stories started flooding Reddit. Subreddits dedicated to the Backrooms just exploded in popularity. I mean, the main subreddit eventually amassed over 157,000 members by March of 2022.
This really marks the transition from a single, unsettling thought experiment into a massive, collaborative world-building exercise. The fandom collaboratively decided that the original Yellow Room was merely level 0.
They needed more floors.
Right. They started creating an infinite verticality to the nightmare. They designed level 1, which resembles this desolate, concrete parking garage wrapped in fog.
Oh, and level 2.
Yeah, level 2, this intensely claustrophobic, scalding hot maintenance tunnel filled with pipes. And this is where I start to get a little conflicted. They didn't stop at architecture. They populated these spaces with entities.
Monsters, basically.
Yeah, hostile creatures that hunt you as you try to navigate the levels. Wikis on platforms like Fandom and Wikidot just popped up entirely to catalog and manage this massive, sprawling universe of survival rules, items, and monsters.
It transformed into this huge, fictitious, collaborative writing project. Anyone with an internet connection could just, contribute a new level, draft a new monster, or write a survival guide. It became a sandbox for amateur horror writers to test out their scariest ideas within a pre-established framework.
Okay, I have to interject here because I really struggle with this phase of the evolution.
Really? How come?
Well, doesn't adding literal monsters and thousands of complex numbered levels completely ruin the subtle psychological dread of the original image?
That's a fair point.
I mean, the original post was terrifying specifically because it was empty. The existential horror of being trapped completely alone in an infinite buzzing office building feels far scarier to me than playing a generic game of hide and seek with a mutant creature.
Yeah, the isolation was the point.
Exactly. The moment you put a monster in the room, it stops being a profound psychological breakdown and just becomes like a haunted house.
Well, your frustration with that evolution actually mirrors a massive divide within the community itself. Oh, yeah. The fandom actually fractured over this exact debate. It caused a genuine schism among the creators and readers.
So there was like a backroom civil war over the artistic integrity of the horror.
That is precisely what happened. As the wikis became bloated with thousands of new levels and increasingly convoluted entities, a faction of purists basically rebelled. They felt the expansion was actively diluting the core terror that made the image famous in the first place.
Makes total sense to me.
Yeah, a Reddit user named Litbeep even created a splinter subreddit called Our True Backrooms. And that community strictly enforced rules maintaining the original concept, just the psychological horror of the endless, empty, mono-yellow space.
Wow.
No monsters, no complex lore, just isolation.
I have to say that Splinter Group completely understands the assignment. The mystery of the empty room is infinitely scarier than a defined monster jumping out of the shadows.
The debate really highlights the mechanics of this emerging genre of collaborative online horror. It shares a lot of DNA with the SCP Foundation, which is another massive online writing project.
Oh, right, where contributors draft those clinical, highly redacted reports about fictional anomalies.
Exactly. And the challenge with these open source universes is always quality control. The sheer volume of contributors is staggering, but because there's no official author or canonical creator of the Backrooms, drawing a line between authentic, terrifying storytelling and bloated, overly complicated fan fiction becomes nearly impossible.
Yeah, the lore just grows until it collapses under its own weight.
Pretty much.
Crowdsourcing horror means you get a lot of amazing ideas, but you also get a ton of noise. But while writers and fans were busy arguing over fictional origins and monster designs, a completely different community of internet sleuths was doing something entirely different.
The hunt for the photo.
Yes, they were hunting for the real-world origin of the photograph. And this mystery took nearly 2 decades to solve.
It's wild, because from 2011, when the image first started appearing in random internet archives, all the way to 2024, the image just floated around message boards with zero attribution. Nobody knew who took it, where it was taken, or if the space even existed in real life. It was treated as an unsolved digital artifact.
Here's where it gets really interesting. In May 2024, a major breakthrough occurred. A dedicated Backrooms Discord community utilized the Wayback Machine, which, is the Internet Archive tool that captures snapshots of dead websites, to trace the original photo to an archived blog from March of 2003.
And the reality they uncovered behind the image is deeply, delightfully mundane.
It really is.
It anchors this massive metaphysical horror universe in the most unremarkable reality imaginable.
Right, the sleuths pulled the digital metadata and the archived blog post to establish the hard facts. The photograph was taken on June 12, 2002. It was shot with a Sony CyberShot camera, and the raw file name was simply DSC00161.jpg.
And the location.
The location wasn't an alternate dimension or a secret government facility or a forgotten corporate headquarters. The address was 807 Oregon Street in Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It's just so perfect. For decades, that building functioned as a furniture store called Ronner's Home Furnishings, which totally explains the bizarre partitions and fake inner walls, right? They were designed to display living room sets.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, and then in 2003, a new tenant acquired the building, a branch of the American hobby shop chain, Hobbytown.
So, the second story of the building was undergoing renovations in 2002 to prepare for the hobby shop. Someone involved in the renovation simply snapped a picture of the progress to post on the shop's, rudimentary weblog.
A blog update.
Yeah, and the room in that specific photo was captioned as the East Oval Room. The blog even explicitly noted that the area had no windows and had to be cleared out due to extensive water damage.
Which perfectly explains the moist carpet vibe that the anonymous 4chan user intuitively picked up on 17 years later. The visual cues of the water damage were literally baked into the pixels of the image.
Think about the absolute absurdity of this revelation for a second. The scariest, most cursed, dread-inducing alternate dimension in human history, literally the pinnacle of modern internet folklore, is actually just a water-damaged room in Wisconsin where some guy goes to buy replacement propellers for an RC airplane.
It's hilarious.
And today, Hobbytown has converted that exact second-story space into a radio-controlled car racing track called Revolution Racing. The original layout, the yellow wallpaper, the partitions, it's all completely gone.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, knowing the mundane truth doesn't actually destroy the myth. It enhances the psychological implications. It proves that ordinary, everyday architecture can be completely weaponized against our own minds simply by applying a tilted camera angle and some bad fluorescent lighting. The terror was never inherent to the room itself. The terror was entirely located in what that empty space represented to our modern brains.
Oh, wow.
It's a mirror reflecting our anxiety about the artificial spaces we spend our lives in.
That is so true. And the reality of Oshkosh, Wisconsin couldn't kill the Backrooms anyway because the myth had already escaped the internet forum.
Oh, it was way past the forums by then.
By the time the origin was discovered in 2024, creators were actively elevating the concept into high-budget mainstream media. The phenomenon was totally outgrowing its origins.
Yeah, that jump to the mainstream was primarily driven by a massive viral breakthrough in January 2022. A YouTube short, simply titled The Backrooms, Found Footage, was uploaded by a creator named Kane Parsons, known online as Kane
And
Pixels.
Kane Parsons was only 16 years old when he uploaded that video. A 16-year-old kid from Northern California fundamentally changed the trajectory of this entire franchise.
It's incredible. He built the video over the course of a single month using the open-source 3D software Blender and Adobe After Effects. It functions as a masterclass in the democratization of visual effects. I mean, a teenager in his bedroom produced world building that Hollywood executives spend millions trying to replicate.
Obviously.
The short is presented as a VHS tape recorded by a filmmaker who accidentally no-clips into the Backrooms in the 1990s.
And the aesthetic of the video leans really heavily into analog horror.
Right.
For those unfamiliar, analog horror is this subgenre that mimics the degraded quality, formatting, and visual artifacts of 80s and 90s VHS tapes or like public access television broadcasts. It taps into nostalgia, but it distorts it. Parsons brilliantly described his vision of the Backrooms as a manifestation of a poorly remembered recollection of the late 90s and early 2000s.
And the video was just a monumental success.
Darn.
Critics praised its restraint, with one outlet calling it literally the scariest video on the internet. By March 2026, that single short had accumulated over 73 million views.
73 million? That's insane.
Yeah, and Parsons expanded the concept into a sprawling web series. He introduced a shadowy 1980s organization called Async that deliberately opens a portal into the Backrooms to conduct research. His expanded series has collectively garnered nearly 200 million views, and it actually earned him a creator honor at the 2022 Streamy Awards.
His work really catalyzed a massive wave of pop culture adaptations, too. We saw a huge TikTok trend in 2022 where users would zoom in on satellite imagery of remote locations in Western Australia on Google Earth, just pretending to locate physical entrance bunkers to the Backrooms.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And in 2024, the rapper Juice WRLD featured a Backrooms-inspired music video for his album The Party Never Ends.
The concept also proved incredibly malleable across totally different mediums. I mean, it made its way to television in the third season of American Horror Stories, the spin-off to the flagship FX series.
Oh, a Huluing episode.
Exactly. They produced an episode starring Michael Imperioli as a grief-stricken screenwriter who falls in and out of these mundane liminal locations while confronting a manifestation of his missing son.
It also found a very natural home in video games. And, I mean, why does the Backrooms translate so perfectly to gaming? Because the core emotion of navigating a video game map is exploration. When you drop a player into a massive, interconnected map that has no objectives, no characters, and no clear exits, it induces an immediate sense of panic.
You expect to find something, and when you don't, it's terrifying.
Right. Gamers subconsciously understand the dread of an empty map. We've seen numerous adaptations, from a co-op multiplayer game called Escape the Backrooms to a found-footage survival horror game called The Backrooms 1998, to a highly anticipated release from an Argentinian studio called Dreamcore, which came out in 2025.
All of these adaptations really lead us to the absolute peak of the phenomenon, which is unfolding right now as we speak.
Yeah, bringing it back to the present moment for you, the listener. A24, the powerhouse studio renowned for prestige horror films like Hereditary and The Witch, is releasing a massive feature film adaptation of The Backrooms.
And who is directing it?
It is directed by Kane Parsons himself. The teenager who made the YouTube video is now directing a Hollywood feature. James Wan, the horror legend behind The Conjuring and Saw, is producing it. And the film hits theaters on May 29th, 2026.
You know, successfully transitioning an internet creepypasta to prestige cinema is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
You only have to look at the critically panned 2018 Slender Man film to see how easily these concepts fall apart when they're stretched into a feature narrative.
Oh, yeah. That was rough.
It was. But the reason The Backrooms is uniquely poised for cinematic success is its reliance on atmosphere over narrative. It isn't just a vehicle for cheap jump scares. It relies on the deep, subtle wrongness of liminal spaces. It really forces the audience to confront their own spatial awareness.
So what does this all mean?
Yeah.
We started this deep dive with a single, anonymous request for an image that felt off. And that image, a completely mundane, water-damaged hobby shop renovation in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, tapped into a profound anxiety about the modern built environment.
It really did.
It proves that the internet, despite its chaos, functions as a powerful engine for collective myth-making. People from all over the world collaborated to build a terrifying modern folklore that resonated so deeply, it bypassed traditional publishing routes and went straight from a forum post to an A24 film set.
It serves as a true testament to the power of human imagination, to project fear onto the blank canvas of our everyday surroundings. And this actually raises a final thought for you to carry with you as you go about the rest of your day.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Well, if a random empty room in a Wisconsin furniture store can spawn an entire dimension of existential dread simply because the camera angle skewed the horizon line and the fluorescent lighting felt a little oppressive, take a close look at your own surroundings.
Seriously, look at the walls around you right now.
Consider the transitional spaces you move through every single day without a second thought. That quiet office hallway after your coworkers have gone home for the evening. The deserted concrete level of your parking garage. The windowless stairwell you take when the elevator is broken. What completely ordinary, innocent space in your daily life is just waiting for the right photograph to become our next collective nightmare?